ようこそどうぞはじめまして
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the GLORIO Chat, the best anime podcast on the internet.
Number one, baby.
Yes, we're recording a little earlier than usual today, but I think we're all awake enough to do this, right?
Yeah. It's not that early. I'm a responsible adult.
I mean, I'm saying this while it's like 1:30 my time.
To the day-night cycle in Pokemon games, it is daytime. So
yeah.
Well,
that's not exactly the smoothest transition I've ever heard, but sure, yes. Pokemon.
Well, tell me, Iroh, would it be day or night in Pokemon's version of Britain?
Well, when you bring it up, when you put it that way, like considering the weather, maybe still nighttime, but for our purposes, it's the daytime.
Sure. For the record, everyone, I guess I'm Team Score Bunny. I'm usually the fire starter.
I am currently undecided. I think I like Score Bunny in theory, but also like you look at that motherfucker from a mile away, or I guess should I say a kilometer, and I'm like, that chap's a firefighting type, for sure, mate. Wait, no, wrong accent.
No, that is definitely the wrong accent.
Sorry, Zig.
Every time I see Score Bunny, I just think of Sam and Max, freelance police.
Yeah, there's been a lot of that going around.
Been a lot of art going around in general.
I keep seeing people post that fucking tweet of the rabbit from the end of fucking Summer Wars, the cyber rabbit.
Yes.
And I was like, shit, like that is kind of halfway towards what I expect Score Bunny's final evolution to look like, so
I have to say the overall starter design's kind of lame, though.
Kind of dull.
There's nothing as instantly appealing as Rowlet was.
Right, like you look at Rowlet and you're like, look at this
round
shaped pool.
Yeah, and they're all kind of sameish other than like the color. Like it's all like here's a green ball, here's a blue ball, and this one's a white ball with ears.
Totally. Like I wasn't, I don't want to get too much into like fucking armchair character designer here, but like, yeah, the kind of like visual and like silhouette diversity of the three starters this time is kind of samey. Like, you remove Score Bunny's ears and then put those three in a lineup. Like you black them out so that you just see their silhouette and like, could you really tell them apart? But,
yeah.
I'm sure, just like, look, it's the old Pokemon cycle. New Pokemon gets announced, new starters revealed. Everybody instantly decides, like, which one is, like, the mainstream favorite, which one is, like, the fucking hipster choice, and then which one is the one literally nobody talks about. And then, that goes on for a while. People start putting out their fucking amazing fan designs that are a million times better than whatever Game Freak actually puts out in the end. Eventually, the final evolutions are revealed. The lame one is revealed to be the cool one. One of them gets 90% of the porn devoted to it, and the other one is forgotten by the annals of time.
The sad thing is, you can already tell which one is going to be which, I think, in this case, but yes.
I mean, I'm just going to say, what the fuck is that thing called?
Grookey.
Grookey, yeah, don't count Grookey out just yet, but I do agree, as I just displayed here, maybe the most forgettable of the three, but, as always, sometimes it takes a final Evo to really decide, which one is the real winner. But
see that tweet going around about how there's a lot of fan art of the new starters. They're seeing a lot of Pokemon Sword art online.
Huh?
What? Why is?
Oh, okay, I get it.
I don't get it.
That's fine.
So, Devilman Crybaby.
Yeah, I hear Devilman Crybaby is back in the news.
Anyway, yeah. So let's
Pokemon adaptation.
Well, first let's introduce ourselves.
Oh, fine.
So we don't forget that.
Yes, we can do that. 5 minutes into the podcast.
Yes. So I'm Gel. And if we have Iro.
Hi.
Iro, who is your starter then? If I'm picking Sword Bunny.
I'm withholding decisions until I see the evolutions. I think
that's way too practical. We need.
Like I said, there's none as instantly appealing as Rowlet.
Fair enough. And so we also have G. G, who you got?
I think you guys need to rewatch that champion kill I got in Apex. I think it's very cool. Maybe cooler than these Pokemon we're talking about. Like, I nailed the headshot. Like, you see that damage marker? 90 damage, baby. Had the Skull Piercer on and everything.
G was a very cool kill. I'm not sure I can justify putting that in the show notes, but follow G on Twitter if you'd like to see his cool Apex kills.
Yes, my one and only cool Apex kill.
Anyway, so as G was alluding to in our show notes, getting ahead of ourselves here, but couple things we wanted to talk about before we get into the anime talk. If anyone remembers last episode, we recorded mere hours before Crunchyroll's Anime Awards aired. I did not actually watch them this year, so I can't speak to whether or not it was a better production. I don't know if you guys saw any of it.
Nope.
I watched a couple clips that people posted on Twitter, and boy, that thing seems
get some more cringe compilations or fucking whatever the kids do these days.
Yeah, that thing is, I mean, look, man, every medium in its nascent stage, it often stumbles a little bit in its path to finding legitimacy. We'll just conveniently ignore that anime as a medium has existed for nearly more than half a century, and that perhaps still, in some ways, struggles to find that sense of legitimacy, but,
hang on, you're telling me white people don't like stuff made by non-white people?
I mean,
wow, we're just gonna go there, huh?
Look, here's the problem, okay? I think I have not watched Mirai yet, but motherfucker, if any Hosoda film deserved to win an Oscar, it was probably going to be something like Summer Wars. And let's be real, the actual best anime of 2018, Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, did win. So in a ways, that is kind of a win for anime.
Sure, probably.
Sure. Okay. Well,
point is, at the Crunchyroll Anime Awards, which are usually dominated by the mainstream stuff like My Hero Academia or Sword Art Online or fucking whatever, Shield Hero, etc. Devilman Crybaby won Best Anime of 2018.
Yeah, it's as somebody who put that at his did I put it at number 3 or number 2? I forget at this point. But regardless, as somebody who was really rooting for that anime, back in 2018, all those years ago.
Yep, 100 years ago.
That was it was look, just like the Oscars, I don't fucking think that these awards actually have any real meaning or sense of legitimacy to them, but it is cool when the mainstream, or as mainstream as fucking anime can get, does recognize, hey, a really fucking good anime came out last year, and a lot of really fucking good anime came out last year, but yeah. Devilman Crybaby was certainly a step above the rest in a lot of ways, and I don't know. I guess I just found it surprising. I think
it's particularly surprising because unlike the Academy Awards, this is a fan vote essentially. So they have a panel pick the nominees, but it's just an open vote. So this is actually voted on by the masses, and not only is it interesting to see them pick something that's
as fucking soul crushing.
Yes, there's I feel like there's a fairly high barrier of entry to enjoying Devilman Crybaby.
I don't think anybody enjoys Devilman Crybaby,
or to to actually sit down and watch it. And also, we talked about how we thought everybody was going to forget about it because it was on Netflix and nobody was talking about it in the beginning when it first came out.
But I think go ahead.
Yeah, it's still won a popularity contest, essentially.
Yeah, and the point I was going to make is I think in a weird way that I mean, I think we will need. I think we will need to see this happen at least 2 or 3 more times in the next few years to qualify this as a trend. But perhaps there is something to be said about specifically if you have a public voting style award that an anime that is available in its entirety on Netflix. I wonder if that actually did have an effect. Like,
Yeah,
you
it's
think about
free to
like
watch compared to
right, like you think about well, I mean, free in the sense of you
well,
Probably already have
you know
the
need a
yeah.
Netflix subscription, but
free because everyone has a cousin who has Netflix account.
right. But I guess it's interesting because I guess because you do compare it to like other anime, and I think for better or worse, we have seen this crop up time and time again. You know, we saw this with like stuff like Agretsuko and stuff. Like, you know, what is the anime that is popular on the like whenever a pop culture blog that isn't devoted to anime does an article about anime, right?
Something
It's
on
always
Netflix.
like oh, it's all the shows that are on Netflix.
Yep.
You know,
Everyone,
even Netflix didn't make those
fucking
shows.
every time I see non-anime watching people on their in the writer's sphere or whatever talking about anime, it's the same 3 shows that are on Netflix.
Right.
Every time.
And I guess I wonder if I wonder if there's actually a real power to that in a sense. You know that.
You're saying getting a wider audience gives shows more power.
I guess I'm surprised.
Well-
I'm still surprised in a ways because I feel like I don't know. I guess it's like I'm trying to think of the cross section of people who care enough about anime to vote for anime awards,
Mm-hmm.
and what does that crossover with people whose only anime watching apparatus is Netflix? Because
Right.
like I feel like anybody who cares enough to vote for like anime awards would probably either be people who have like a Crunchyroll or High Dive subscription or whatever, or they just torrent their anime like 90% of us do. Like it's
Yeah, I
I
mean-
guess I'm curious like
The awards are put on by Crunchyroll, so at the very least
Right.
you're going to know who Crunchyroll is if you're voting in the anime awards. So you're going to have a
Yeah.
certain level of knowledge of, you know, what they are, and you probably are more than just the, you know, casual person wandering through Netflix and wondering what this show is or whatever.
yeah,
So-
I mean what are you telling me that the Anime Awards does not bring in a ton of new audiences because of the Crunchyroll Anime Awards featuring Dante from Devil May Cry?
Yeah. So yeah, it's interesting, and I do have to wonder, because there are other shows that have come out exclusively on Netflix that really did literally disappear. So is it just a matter of Devilman is just so good that you can't ignore it, or it was so high? I mean, it did have a certain high profile, you know, with the anime community being based on, you know, a classic manga with a well-known
I mean, I
director.
will say from my like limited anecdotal, you know, experience that based on like some of the, you know, again, like non-anime pop culture like blogs and, you know, sites and whatever that I was checking out, and like just, you know, the scuttlebutt of what I heard from my, you know, from people I know in my life that are anime adjacent, shall we say. Like they watch like, you know, maybe 3-4 anime a year, but like aren't like, you know, I'll put it this way, they depend on me to tell them what's airing in a season to actually check it out. That like a lot of them were talking about Devilman even without my prompting. Like they were like, "Oh, like, you know, it was just on Netflix and
Right.
you know, I decided to check it out." And I guess but then it's like I guess are those also the same people that are fucking going online and going to Crunchyroll's like website to vote? So
Yeah, that's the thing. So I don't know. I think, like you said, we just need to see more examples.
yeah.
My gut is that, you know, if you make something good enough, it'll eventually make its way through. But
I don't know. Have you heard of let's see. Let me grab my notes here. Garo and Rage of Bahamut.
yeah, or my hill to die on was Rakugo last year. Nobody cared about that.
Last year, 2 years ago, or
I think it was last year, wasn't it?
wasn't that 2017 show, dude?
Wasn't Rakugo 20? Oh no! Oh no!
Well, season 1 was aired. Might have been like I thought that was. Oh no, you're right. It was 2017. Oh my god.
Yeah, I feel like you'd be a lot more angry about. I feel, yeah, actually, I was gonna say, I feel like you'd be a lot more angry about 2018 or our 2018 ranking list
you know what's
if
messing me
Rakugo
up?
wasn't.
You know what's messing me up? We're having this discussion in March about 2018. My entire
No,
timeline.
it's not our fucking fault that Crunchyroll holds a fucking 2018 awards show in February.
They got to move that timeline up for sure. But anyway, I think that's enough of. I think we can officially close the book on best of 2018 talk now and move on with our lives.
TLDR, Devilman Crybaby is pretty good.
Yeah. Should probably check that out.
Pretty good. Well, you know what else was pretty good was the recently finished tokusatsu show Thief Sentai Lupinranger versus Police Sentai Patranger, which finished recently a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, you guys have consistently said that's been good. It's been airing for a long time.
The thing, yeah, as most Sentai shows do, aired for a whole year, give or take. Having watched a few Sentai shows now, at this point, I'd say this might be the best one of the ones I've seen.
Okay, but like when you say best, do you mean like best or like best?
Great grading on a curve.
The thing though with Sentai is that it's so regimented. Like, on the broad level, every show is the fucking same, right? Like, there's not really too many meaningful differences from show to show. It's more about like, do you like the characters? Is the acting bad or bad? You know, is the choreography like decent or bad? How terrible are the special effects?
All right, Eero, I'm gonna ask you a simple question then. How does Lupinranger versus Patranger stack up to Hong Kong Shaw Brothers' legendary film Inframan?
Broadly favorably.
Really? Okay. I
mean, having 50 episodes allows for a lot. But like the choreography, for example, in Lupat was I would say a step above the usual Sentai fare.
Sure, okay.
Like it felt like the first Sentai show I'd seen that actually tried to be better made on certain levels than any of the others. And the premise of one Sentai versus another Sentai kind of allows for more person-on-person fighting rather than person-on-giant rubber suit fighting.
Right.
Which kind of inherently allows for better choreography.
Did they do anything crazy for the final battle?
No, it was just kind of a fun, like, standard ending.
What, are you telling me these Phantom Thieves did not summon the devil and have him shoot his devil bullet at God? What? I don't know. I'm just talking generally.
That could be any Phantom Thieves.
Yeah, I'm going to be talking about any group of
I forgot when Lupin the Third did that. You're right.
Yeah, exactly. You saying it's a spoiler now makes people suspicious. Right. Whereas before, I was just making an innocuous statement.
Find the evil gang boss Dogranio Yabun, who is made out of chains and gears and saw blades.
That's a pretty good name for a final boss.
Opened the safe on his chest and sucked the thieves into it so they could have their final battle with their nemesis.
Right, because this has the two teams, right?
Yeah, so they're fighting their nemesis inside of the pocket dimension within Dogranio Yabun, while the cops fight Dogranio Yabun.
Wait.
So they're literally fighting to steal his heart.
To steal the pieces of the Lupin collection.
Or just beat the shit out of his heart. I mean either way.
I asked you if they did anything crazy for the ending. That sounds fairly crazy.
I suppose you're right. It was good. Like, again, all Sentai is very broad and silly, but there is difference between a well-made one and a poorly made one.
Oh, for sure. You know? I mean, you've shown me enough clips of Sentai for me to certainly get a feel for like, oh, this is the good one with like budget and choreography, and oh, these ones are the
yeah.
not good ones with even less budget and less choreography.
All right, and since it ended, normally it just jumps right into the new series like straight away, but this year they're doing a like 4-episode special, I guess to commemorate the end of the Heisei era, and also because I guess they think they want to space out when Kamen Rider ends and when Sentai ends, so that they're more like apart. You know, to have like a 6-month gap between it.
And what better way to celebrate an era's legacy, its defining legacy, than to cash in on the latest trend and have 100 men in rubber suits drop onto an island.
Damn straight. So this like crossover thing is
that really what they're doing?
The strongest battle, and reuniting, you know, some fan favorite Rangers from the past few years and some fan favorites from across time and space. 100 Rangers teleported to a mysterious planet in teams of 5 to fight it out.
This isn't a bit.
Who is the strongest? No, I'm serious,
boys.
I'm serious, dog. So all these teams of Rangers are fighting it out.
I found a belt. Does anybody need a belt? I found a level 2 belt.
That's Kamen Rider.
Shit. I'm sorry. I already ruined this bit. I'm sorry. I don't fucking know shit about Sentai. I'm a faker.
But yeah, it's fun. Like, you know, it's fun to see returning characters if you liked them. And so 2/5 of the like main team, that's the main characters of this one, are people I hate. So every time like the red Ninja Ranger shows up, I'm like, fuck this guy. But then when the red Eagle Ranger shows up, I'm like, yeah, this guy's great. And then he fights 1v3 in the second episode and totally kicks their asses, and it was the best.
Nice.
Just to like see, you know, like, oh, this guy, I watched this show like 3 years ago and I liked him a lot, and
so just like,
you know, he just whips out all of his special moves from across that whole show.
Okay, Iro, which team of Rangers are the ones who just hide in a bathroom and become one of the last 3 teams in the final circle without getting any kills?
Fucking, I don't know. Probably one of the ninja ones, right?
I guess ninjas are sneaky.
Except Shuriken Sentai Ninja, their tagline was, "We are the shinobi who do not hide."
Oh, well, I mean, you know... Is that doghead guy like the dude who goes spicy and like gets 3 kills before picking up a gun? He's totally
showed up, and
yeah.
So there's kind of a side plot that maybe this whole setup is actually really sketchy, and maybe the magic using referee named Rita is up to something.
Oh, really, Rita?
Who could say? And so, cool dog cop man is kind of like maybe investigating outside of the battles at the same time.
I mean, in all seriousness, Iro, do you think that this is actually like they're kind of like long con to set up their next Sentai team? Because the way I could see this going, right?
There also have been like small segments of the next team doing stuff.
Yeah, I guess that's what I mean, right? Is this whole mini series crossover thing eventually just going to set up like, oh, this is the new team, and like this is the gimmick of the next
I think it will
upcoming series.
Maybe not like entirely, but a decent amount. Like there's also a weird man in armor going around saying he wants to fight the strongest and is beating everyone up, and his armor totally looks as if he would be a 6th Ranger in the next show. If that makes sense. Okay. I don't know. It's dumb and fun, and
I mean, in all seriousness, that does kind of sound like a neat setup to like build hype for the next series. You know, like, you know, you get your little crossover like anniversary celebration, and then you also kind of get to hint at like what's to come.
Yeah, I'm enjoying it.
Sounds like a better idea than what Kamen Rider did for their end of the.
Oh, let's not talk about Zio.
But yeah, I want to get back to anime, so let's not get into that.
Yeah, we have been talking about completely fucking pointless bullshit for the first 30 minutes of this podcast.
Yeah.
You're right. I'm sorry. Devilman Crybaby is a great anime.
All right, so let's get to our regularly scheduled anime discussion here. We'll go through the shows we're watching, and let's kick off with Mob Psycho 100, which
hell yeah!
I feel like I've kind of forgotten everything leading up to the final moments of episode 8, but checking my notes,
so 7 was like
7 was we wrapped up the little Reigen mini arc, Reigen versus the media storyline.
Reigen hates the media,
and we got our I think, as I was saying last episode, how I kind of feel overdosed on Reigen. I do feel like this was a good kind of development for him, I guess. Even though we still ultimately, well, did we end up back at the status quo? I guess it was. Things are different. I mean, go ahead, G.
I think for better or worse, functionally, at least within the confines of the show itself, it kind of is a return to the status quo. But as a standalone episode, or as the culmination of the previous episodes, like setup, I actually really do like episode 7. I think it works because. I think it works because we do get Reigen's internal monologue, and yes, is he gratified in the end? Is he rewarded? Does he basically get out of that situation scot-free? Yes, but also only because, and I think it's only kind of forgivable because at least from his internal monologue, we as a viewer can recognize that he truly does feel bad about what he said to Bob in episode 6.
Right.
If he had not explicitly said, I fucked up and this is all my fault, I don't think this episode would have worked nearly as well.
Yeah.
And I think it was important that, we finally get out in the open that Mob knows he's a fraud. It's because now it's like, okay, now if they're moving forward, if they continue to work together, then it's going to be more of a partnership, which I think was the best we could have hoped for here.
And I mean, I think that was always kind of the underlying current of the relationship, right? We see, we see that in the culmination of the flashback. If for people who don't remember, the flashback Reigen has in episode 7 of meeting Mob for the first time is almost a 1-1 creation of the flashback that Mob has of his time meeting Reigen for the first time, that he has back in either the final or penultimate episode of season 1. And that flashback in season 1, we see it from Mob's viewpoint. And I mean, we all knew that Reigen was a swindler and a con man even in season 1, but seeing it from Reigen's standpoint, where his act of kindness was essentially an unintentional, off the cuff, act, essentially.
Right.
I think it's still neat because it kind of speaks to this idea of the concept of even unintentional benevolence can still, an unintentional good act is still a good act, I guess. And for better or worse, I mean, I think we can all agree that Reigen was and continues to in some ways be hugely important to Mob's development as a person.
Right.
And having Mob around is important for Reigen.
Right. Yes, that too, yes. We also definitely see that in this episode as well, that Reigen definitely can no longer quite function without Mob, so...
Right. Yeah, they put kind of a nice bow on that and set us up to move on. Which we did in episode 8.
Yeah, sure, yes. We definitely moved the plot forward in episode 8.
I mean, I was pretty excited that just now we're getting back to focusing on Mob. And, the bulk of the episode, I guess, is, just him going about his, he's trying to train for this big race so he can impress what's her name. And, it's just kind of normal, school stuff. And then we have, should we just cut to the ending or?
I mean, before we get to that, and I think we should soon, so I'll just keep it very quick, but I actually really, really like the first 2/3 of this episode a lot. I like this episode as a whole, but like I think episodes like this one are exactly why, like, while I think that maybe, One Punch Man, to mention its counterpart, definitely hit a certain bigger kind of spectacle. Like, the reason I think a lot of us stick with Mob is because it is this very, like, very sincere show.
Yeah.
And this episode kind of continues to hammer home the point that we saw with, like, when Mob was, like, caught in the weird, like, brain dimension or whatever, that, for all of, regardless of what Mob himself thinks, like, he has a lot of people in his life who care about him and are willing to, willing to go to bat for him. And, like, it's kind of a predictable, trajectory, but, just watching all of Mob's friends that we've met over season 1, like, chip in like, both small and big ways to help him out on his goal was a lot of fun to watch.
Yeah. And it definitely sets up the, I guess, impact of the final stretch, which, we kind of always have a standing spoiler alert on this podcast, but I'm really going to throw out a spoiler alert on this one if you're watching Mob and care. But at the end of episode 8, we have one of the he was one of the bad dudes in season 1, right?
He was like the kid from season 1 who was like, he was pretending to be a like new initiate, but he was actually like fucking
even
big,
on a whole other level.
Right, like top honcho number fucking like 1 or some shit. But
yeah, so he shows up at Mob's house when Mob is not there.
Yeah,
and the episode ends with Mob coming home to his house being on fire, and what appears to be finding the bodies of his family burning in a closet at the end of the episode. Yes. I guess the big question here is, are they actually dead?
No, I don't think so.
I don't think so. I don't think this is that type of show.
I don't think one is that
mean-spirited.
Yeah. I think the obvious like theory, of course, is this is an illusion set up because they just want to push Mob to his limits, right? To watch him break,
right?
Because
and it's not like that hasn't happened. Well, so here's my take on that. One, yes, that's extremely plausible because that's basically happened already. But 2, we kind of also just did that like 3 episodes ago.
Yeah, I think I was talking to Iro about this the other day, but I think in a weird ways, Mob Psycho 100 is really good in the same way that some of the best comics about Superman are very good. In that it's never a guess of, can Superman or Mob beat the bad guy? But can he maintain his humanity? Can he walk the higher road in spite of this truly overwhelming power he possesses?
Right.
Very much in the same way that, like, a lot of the best Superman stories are about the bad guys, like, harming Superman's friends and family. Like, what will happen to Mob, when somebody pushes him this far? Will he be able to pull himself back from the brink? Or will he, lose himself in the darkness, so to speak?
Right. Yeah. In that regard, I don't think it's probably super important how this gets resolved, but we kind of all feel like it's definitely not what it appears to be at face value. So interesting twist, though. Had the internet gasping for sure.
It still definitely has me excited in the sense that, like, you could kind of feel it in your bones that, oh shit, episode 9 might be another like episode 5 in terms of like, it is another episode where Bones is like cracking its fingers and like, all right, time for another time for another Sakuga explosion,
once you get question mark percent Mob, things are gonna get it's probably gonna be some kind of
that's some fucking like dark Ryu or angry Yangwen Li shit right there, truly a terrifying power to behold.
All right, so we asked about fighting Goku with Ultra Instinct. Who wins, Angry Yang or question percent Mob?
Oh shit, that's tough. I think Yang Wen Li wins if the rest of the FPA fleet has been destroyed.
He only had
And
Hyperion in
at the last second.
yeah. Sure.
But oh god.
Anyways,
The episodes we've been watching lately.
We'll get to that next week.
yes.
Okay, fine.
So, anyways, it was a good twist. I don't suspect it's, like I said, what they, I don't think it's going to be what it is at face value. I don't think his family's actually dead, but we'll see how that
Definitely
goes. And yeah, it was a strong block of episodes there for sure, though.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, let's move along to Dororo.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And
two happy episodes after 6 episodes of
do you mean happy or quote marks happy?
No, weirdly, unironically, pretty happy. At least as happy as you can get for a story set in an old school depiction of Sengoku era Japan.
Right.
And I gotta be honest, I don't dislike these 2 episodes, but these 2 episodes more than any other have made me realize that, okay, maybe Dororo starts to lose a little bit of steam when it's just these kind of just Dororo and Hyakimaru fucking, hanging out. They walk into a new random Japanese village, and it's
solve the demon problem one way or another.
Yeah. But at the same time, these episodes are also maybe these slight, building foundations of Hyakimaru starting to gain a personality. So
he finally spoke.
Yeah. Hell, he even laughs in one of these episodes. But long story short, episode 7 does the all fucking demon and human fall in love subplot that often happens in these kind of shows. And
yes, the forbidden.
Weirdly enough, despite everything we know about how these usually one-off stories tend to go, I guess spoiler alert: the human and his demon lover actually survive and run away together.
Wow.
Which, in some weird ways, is almost as much a twist in and of itself, based on the usual formula. But
right.
And then
episode 8's just we helped this kid save his sister from the demon.
And then they did it.
Hooray!
Yeah, it's still good. It's still enjoyable, but you definitely get that feeling of kind
of it's the point of the show where we're spinning our wheels for a bit.
Yeah, because these last 2 episodes didn't really contribute any to the kind of overarching plot of because you have a few overarching narrative threads to work with in Dororo. You have Hyakimaru's lineage, his family.
Yeah.
You have Dororo's past. We still don't really know much about that beyond his parents showing up in the OP. And then you kind of have the general I don't know, Hyakimaru struggling with his humanity stuff. And these 2 episodes don't really address any of those threads, so
they're slowly moving forward, but not super meaningfully.
Yeah, the more interesting thing about Dororo this week is probably finding out that there are in fact going to be 2 cores.
I was convinced up until I saw some confirmation about the Blu-ray, pre-orders for the Blu-rays or whatever, that was a 1-core show, but I guess it's going to be 2 cores.
Yeah, which definitely puts the pacing of it into a different light, because we definitely thought during these 2 episodes, yo, you got 4 episodes left. Are you can't really afford to spin your wheels this, but if it's going to be 24 episodes, I guess they do have some time, and I suspect now that I am personally willing to make the bet that Dororo's backstory is going to be the 2-parter that bookends this season or something,
hope so.
Right?
Yeah.
I hope so. That kid's got hustle.
Yeah.
Would you say, Iro, that these episodes are closer to the tone of the source material?
It varies.
Talk about the bomb. Just do it.
So, okay. I was a little disappointed because in episode 8, they kill the, like, giant centipede demon or whatever, and Hakumaru gets his nose back. Now he can smell the flowers. And I was like, oh, come on. Because in the manga, his nose... They're fighting like nine-tailed fox or something. Like, this dangerous enemy. And Hakumaru, like... the only way we can defeat this is like my last resort. Hyakimura pulls his nose off and his prosthetic nose and throws it into the mouth of the nine-tailed fox. But his nose was a bomb, and it blows up this demon, right?
Oh
and
my god!
And conveniently, this demon's one that had his real nose. This his real nose grows back right after.
That's
and like it's
so
just
much better than the anime episode.
Yeah,
silly, and.
That does sound
like this show and the 2019 version in general is kind of like more serious, and I kind of wish it was a little sillier.
So
but
it sounds like
maybe that doesn't fly in 2019, but
it sounds like that's significantly reduced our chances of seeing the machine gun leg. Then, huh?
Yeah, I think that's gone.
Man, no machine gun leg, no nose bomb. Like, come on, what? The fuck does Hyakumaru even have left at this point?
Sword arms,
just the sword arms.
Yeah, that's a little disappointing, but it sounds like it's still good overall, though.
Yeah, definitely still enjoyable. Definitely, definitely still digging it overall, though.
Yeah, nice. All right, so. The next question then is: are you still digging the Magnificent KOTOBUKI?
I don't even know, man. KOTOBUKI is weird. So like, the more and more we learn about its bizarre setting.
Yeah, so KOTOBUKI is always taking place in this weird like world that looks like the Arizona desert. But also they're all flying World War II Japanese planes, and there's zeppelins and etc. And they imply in episode 6 that some like 40-50 years ago or something, some sort of hole opened up in the sky, some sort of dimensional hole, and planes flew through and arrived in our world. And I guess this is why they all have, like, all their technology is World War II Japan planes, because I guess a dimensional hole opened up from Japan.
Yeah, basically they imply that, like, a portion of World War II era Japan got isekai'd into KOTOBUKI's world. Like, they talk about the Yufang, like, people, the Yufang incident and all this stuff. And
how Yufang had these things called oceans.
Right, yes. They also constantly talk about, we've talked about this before, about how the world of KOTOBUKI doesn't have oceans, but they can still cultivate seaweed, which, again,
don't worry about it.
I cannot let go of. It just bothers me on a fucking intrinsic level.
Okay, sure.
Yeah.
All right.
Like the main girl, the generic of the girl ensemble who eats pancakes. Like, we go into her backstory of how when she was a kid, she knew this weird old man in town, and everyone thought he was a weird, creepy old man. But actually, he was from the mysterious Yufang, and knew a lot about planes. So she got her passion from planes from him.
That seems like
they bring up there's this one plateau that everyone tried to use, tried to do plane tests on, because supposedly it was the same size as something from Yufang called an aircraft carrier, and we don't know what those are, but apparently they had planes.
That's a very weird and kind of wildly inefficient way of building this world. I
think when we all heard about this, we all just assumed it was just like, generic, vaguely post-apocalyptic setting to, just justify the aesthetic of World War II, planes.
Right.
They have kind of done weird somersaults to justify the setting in ways that I could have never predicted.
Yeah.
We didn't really need that, right? We could just...
Because the thing is, it doesn't really add that much to the plot. It's just this weird background dressing.
Yeah, maybe they'll get into it coming up, but
yeah,
I don't know. Episode 7 is kind of starting a like multi-episode arc in itself, but like they bring up how the planes need gasoline, and normally we borrow gas from, the like small town gas man.
mom and pop gasoline shops.
Yeah, but the big gas conglomerate is selling really cheap gas, but it's like watered down. It's not as it's not efficient.
They're selling subpar products conveniently at the same time that all the mom and pop shops are either getting bought out or bombed by mysterious unmarked mercenary planes.
Yeah, weird.
Man.
So I guess
Which,
there's some
in a
sort
weird
of
way, it's
gas conspiracy happening.
It's like, in a weird way, the fucking, like, dumbass episode where the bandits were masquerading as a business was actually secretly foreshadowing, like, the true monster that is capitalism that lurks in the shadows of all worlds and all dimensions.
Oh, you guys are just setting up this transition to the next show, but yes, go ahead.
Yeah. So, they're setting up for some longer plot about capitalism.
Capitalism and oil
company, wars. Shutting down all the oil. And they also shot the researcher who was trying to find out what's with the dimensional hole to Yufeng, and something's going on. The show is still weird as hell.
It continues. Again, I don't dislike the show, but also I don't think I love the show. But it continues to baffle me in a way that, it fascinates me. Like,
nothing like it,
I can't tear my eyes away.
Yeah, it just sounds so much weirder than it needs to be. Like,
it is the bizarrest justification for clearly a lot of people who just love planes.
Oh well, just wait till we get to the bizarre justification in The Price of Smiles.
Ooh,
but we'll get there.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to that. But all right, we'll see how that one goes. Speaking of indictments of capitalism, let's
tell us more about Death Macaroon.
No Death Macaroon this week, but we do have a new arc with this one has the return of two of the characters from season 1. We have Sumeragi, who's the girl that ripped off her own fingernails, most notably. And we also have the return of the man that she loves, the cold glasses guy who lost so badly in season 1 that his hair turned white and he went into a coma.
So this was like the haughty, like, student council guy.
Yeah, he was the student council, like, treasurer or something like that or whatever.
Right.
And he was like super full of himself, and then he got knocked back down to earth. But so they're back for this arc, and they get roped into a game with Yumiko and two of the new characters. One is, I think she's supposed to be like half Russian or something, and she is most definitely
blonde and blue-eyed.
No, she has like the silver hair, and she has like a
like the silver hair Russian.
Yeah, she has like a Russian like given name or something.
Oh, sure.
She might be Russian, but she's most definitely an assassin, even though they don't say it explicitly. She walks around with like black leather gloves, and at one point she's like, "Hey, I'm not from the torture family, but I can do some stuff if you need it." And they're like, nah, we're good. We're good for now. Thanks. So, and then there's just some like delinquent dude who's kind of along for the ride at this one. I have a feeling he's going to be I have a feeling they're going to have to fight him more later, but for now they just needed somebody to fill out the game because they needed 5 people. So anyway, they get together to play what is called the Greater Good game.
Ooh,
and
I like the sound of that.
I'm gonna try to explain this in the most straightforward, simple way possible. But in the Greater Good game, each of the 5 players are given a set amount of coins, and sort of the buy-in for this game is that if you don't gain a certain amount of coins, not only do you lose the game, but you're eliminated from like the entire election tournament thing. Like, you're just out completely. You're written out of the show.
Oh, right. This is still part of this tournament arc, right?
So high stakes, high reward stuff. And so in the greater good game, everyone gets these coins, and there's 5 rounds. And every round, you have to choose: do I put coins into my personal piggy bank, or do I put coins into the tax box? If you put your coins, in your piggy bank, they're just stay there and they're safe until the next round. If you put your coins in the tax box, you give them away, but at the end of the round, the tax box is doubled and then evenly distributed to all the players.
Some like prisoner's dilemma shit.
Yeah.
Like...
So the way the math works out, if everybody just put all their money in the tax box every round, everybody would survive and continue on in the tournament, but nobody would really make any significant gains in votes. But if everybody puts their money in their piggy banks, nobody will have enough coins and everybody gets eliminated.
Oh man, I fucking love this shit. Holy crap.
So are you gonna...
So you could, so in theory,
are you gonna betray, baby?
Yes. And the other thing is, nobody knows who put how many coins where. Like, it's all done in secret. So in theory, you could put all your money in your piggy bank and just assume everybody else is going to pay the taxes, and then you end up with money in the end.
Shit.
But you're taking the risk of nobody paying taxes and everybody lose it.
Oh man.
So
like, what's the mechanics to convince people to do it one way or the other? Is it just sheerly down to like talking, or like?
Yes. So let me explain further.
Oh man.
So the final piece of the puzzle here is if after the results are announced every round, the players are allowed to have a discussion, and if they determine somebody isn't paying their taxes and they can get a majority 3 out of 5 vote, they can vote them out of the game.
Oh man, I wish it was that easy in real life.
So,
virtue's last reward.
Yes. So this goes about as dramatically as you'd expect, with everybody, the big reveals of every round and everybody accusing everybody of being the traitor who didn't pay their taxes and everything.
So like, based on the way the taxes go, they can accurately detect like how many people didn't pay up, right?
Right. So they can figure out, this time one person didn't pay, this time 2 didn't pay, and then they can argue. Okay. Then they can argue with each other on who is the one that didn't pay. But of course, there's going to be a lot of bluffing and whatever going on.
Oh, of course. I mean, everybody was going to be like, of course I paid my taxes. Yeah. I'm a good American citizen.
So the end result of all this is the glasses guy figures it out. The whole thing was basically set up, gets rigged by Sumeragi for the glasses guy to win, and basically because she loves him and wants to get him out of his slump that he's in. And it kind of backfires and she ends up winning anyway. I guess the results didn't really matter, but
wait, what?
She ends up winning, and the glasses guy is like, I don't really care anymore, but at least they now care about each other or something. That was the whole point of it. But it did lead to my
truly heartwarming.
It did, yes, truly heartwarming. It did lead to my favorite moment though, which so to rig the game, she basically ends up double crossing the Russian girl. And, the Russian girl's an assassin, so you probably don't want to double cross her.
So, probably not.
So this leads to her getting voted out. And as soon as she gets voted out, the Russian girl immediately grabs Sumeragi by the collar and slams her up against the wall. And everyone's like, oh God, she's going to kill her. And she leans in and says to her, my family does quote unquote cleaning. And we're not very good at this, these kind of mind games. So, nice job. And then she backs off. And it turns out she's actually the nicest character in the show.
Okay.
She's like, oh, by the way, are you in love with that glasses guy? I promise so I won't tell anyone. And she's just surprisingly the most chill person in the, this is a dumb.
She just wants things to be clean and orderly.
Yes. It was just a dumb twist at the end there. But so nothing quite on the level of Death Macaroon, but
I'm surprised another character has made an argument that, but if you tax the rich at 80%, then how can they contribute back to the economy? How can they pay their workers more than minimum wage.
They kept the actual social commentary pretty light, as this show is kind of too dumb to really get too much into that.
Sure.
They did
I never expected Kakegurui to actually go for the throat of capitalism,
right.
but
well, I will say that if you do take the show even like 1% seriously, if it did have a message, it is that it's kind of anti-greed. Like, these people are all kind of disgusting and despicable. But there is one moment with. Okay, so I need to acknowledge the officials for these games are other students who are supposed to be like just totally neutral. And the only one we've really seen so far has been like, I remember the little girl on the student council who has like the weird like hoodie, the animal hoodie thing. Yeah. So she's the only one we've seen so far, and I just assumed that was just like her weird character quirk or whatever. But apparently, no. All the officials wear those weird animal hoodie things.
Sure.
So they had a different official for this game who we've never seen before. And at one point, she's like getting a little too into enjoying the game and how this is how society really works, where greed rules and everything like that. So they did add a little bit of that in there. But, generally it was just for setting us up for some ridiculous mind games. It was pretty fun. But, yeah. We'll have to see. I haven't heard if this show is doing... I'm assuming it's still only one core, in which case we're kind of running out of time to take down the president. So... I'm expecting some pretty crazy stuff by the next time we talk about it.
You are right about that, Jell. It's 2019, and we are running out of time to take down the president.
Exactly, yes.
Oh, boy.
I'm sorry, I couldn't resist.
I tell you had to slam dunk at home. I understand, but
go out and vote, y'all. Register. Support your local elections. It's got to start at small, people. Like, if we want to make big changes, we got to start making small changes.
Yeah. All right, so moving along to My Roommate is a Cat.
How's the cat stuff going?
Is it still sad as fuck?
It's a little bit.
Are birds still fucking the shit out of cats in these 2 episodes?
Yeah, there was nothing quite like that. I think the saddest thing that happened this week was the main guy flashing back to his now dead mother reading him stories as a child, and how...
God damn it, that does sound hella fucking sad.
And how part of how he started getting interested in writing was his mother would read him bedtime stories, and then he would make up like sequel stories to the bedtime stories when he was a little kid. So that was a little sad, flashback wise. Other than that, though, these were pretty, even by this show's standards, pretty light episodes. Episode 7 had his childhood best friend guy come over with all his younger siblings who were like little kids and harassing the cat. So it was kids and cats, and it was kind of cute. Not really a whole lot else to say on that one. And then episode 8 was the, oh no, the author guy got sick because he's overworked himself episode.
Tell me more.
The old Japanese overwork.
Yeah, so he gets the Japanese overwork cold, and it's up to his childhood friend guy and his goofy but kind of hot editor to nurse him back to health.
Hell yeah.
And the cat kind of, again, showing, also trying to take care of him, which was cute. So yeah, it was nice. Nothing too high stakes. They are setting up what I think is going to be the final, like, if there is a plot arc to speak of, where earlier in the series the author got invited to a live autograph session thing or book signing or whatever, and he at first he was just like no, and now that he's like kind of opening up his heart to all of these new friends and the cat and his new cat.
Now I'm sociable.
He's thinking about it now. So I think
having the cat solved all of my emotional issues and
yes,
and brain problems. I no longer need my medication. I no longer need to see a therapist.
Well, you heard it here first, folks.
Fixed.
Yeah,
if you should spend the money to own a living animal that has its own emotional and financial needs.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds bad and convenient when I boil it down to that. And it kind of is, I suppose, but
I mean, no, I mean not to actually disparage the effect that I'm like,
I know, I'm kidding.
people have talked about, people make, have talked about how like animals have definitely helped them, through hard times. So not to disparage that at the slightest, just
yeah, I mean they do a good job, and like part of like the flashbacks too is like, a lot of his, a lot of what is kind of made him withdraw is him not, I guess, avoiding addressing the fact that he lost his parents. He basically just, shut that part of him off. And now we've seen throughout the series, he's starting to remember his parents and like starting to cope with that, which I think is what the core thing that they're going for. And they've done a pretty decent job at touching on that. But yeah, it does look like they're building up now to kind of the final thing is going to be this. He's going to actually willingly go to this signing event, but we'll see. Still a pretty good show.
Okay. But has the cat taught him the price of smiles? Oh wait,
no, wrong.
Oh,
You
God damn it! You're right.
idiot. You ruined it. I fucked it up. God damn it.
I did. I'm sorry.
They can't.
You were supposed to say. Has the cat taught us all fucking the grim reality of the
the farm,
of the illusion we live in, or something.
All right, so
I'm sorry, I did mess that up.
Yeah, well,
I wasn't looking properly at the show notes. They both start with the P. I got mixed up.
Oh, we all certainly know I've done that many times. It happens to the best of us. But let's talk about the Promised Neverland. I guess we should throw up another spoiler warning on this one, but
yeah, big spoiler alert for this
spoiler
one.
warning on this one. If I had to pick one running theme for these two episodes, I would say it's Mom Strikes Back.
Yeah. In case y'all forgot, because Sister Crone was taking up screen time, Mama is not to be fucked with.
Yeah, I've seen some criticisms from like manga readers that the show hasn't been handling it very well.
Specifically, Mom not being menacing enough.
That plus everything about Sister Crone.
Is that before or after this block of episodes?
During this block of episodes.
Okay,
I should say.
G, what is your response to that?
I mean, here's the thing. I think there is always going to be that kind of latent conversation about Sister Crone just because of a variety of various factors, including, her depiction and portrayal and design. I will say that I think that the Sister Crone stuff, I think at least episode 8 does a pretty good job of like succinctly like basically wrapping up like, not if not necessarily giving her character a great send off, at least like doing a good job of evoking like the sense of like both dread and helplessness, but also resentment that humanity feels for its current situation, and that even if many of the humans are collaborators, with the demons, across its power structure, that sometimes even its worst actors can still recognize, the inherent and undeniable evil of the world they live in. I guess they don't really go into what Sister Crone's last contribution to the kids are, but you guys, I think you see that at the end of episode 8.
If they put a thing in that drawer, I assume it's important
behind for them, and that will definitely have some very long-lasting consequences. So
sure,
that's to be paid attention to. I think the thing that I always had an issue with in terms of like the anime. And it's a very small, well, not a small issue, but it's a minor issue considering how solid the adaptation is overall. But like the nature of manga as a medium means that like, it's black and white, which means that it inherently skews towards a different type of like aesthetic and presentation. Yeah. And I think the anime definitely stumbles in a lot of places because it cannot bring itself to be as stylized as the manga.
Right. It can't have such sharp contrasts
Right.
all the time.
Like the scene in which Mama shows up and confronts Sister Crone and presents her the letter is like genuinely one of the creepiest fucking moments in the manga. Like a combination of like Mama's facial expression, the way it's drawn, like the way it uses like black and white to like, you know, silhouette and accentuate her feature, her form, and like just, you know, like her in the darkness, like facing Crone standing in the in her lit room, like creates this very unnerving atmosphere that the anime decides to not linger on long enough. Like in the anime, she basically shows up and like you kind of see her with the pen, like with the letter opener for like a second, but then she just hands it to Crone. Whereas the manga kind of like specifically uses like big, like large, wide panels to linger on it in a way that creates tension that the anime kind of stumbles at doing.
I mean, I think that's the point still got across. I mean, I still felt the tension there, but I guess you're saying it's not when you don't have when you can't have that stylized presentation to really like emphasize it, it's not quite as effective. I guess is what you're getting.
Yeah, but I don't know. I think, but overall plot wise, like even as someone who read the manga, like watching these episodes did remind me, like, oh right, yeah, this story was amazing at just like every time you think like we're gonna settle into a status quo in their escape, like they throw in a new wrench that like completely like destroys the status quo and forces our heroes to basically start anew. And
yep, I mean, how are you supposed to escape when you got a broken leg?
Mama, don't fuck around.
I don't fucking know.
I mean, not only that, but also the reveal that Norman is going to be adopted.
The
arguably the brains of the operation is
right.
Shall we say taken out of the game prematurely, and it is truly one of those like lowest moments for our heroes sort of situation that I'm definitely looking forward to seeing how they do in the anime.
Yeah, I'm curious. There's a lot. This is a show that runs on how long you can string along questions, I suppose. And so,
right.
Hopefully, we'll get answers.
Yeah.
To some, I don't know.
Yeah, and I think it is good that for the most part they give you answers quickly, but then just keep giving you more questions as opposed to having one big question that you're waiting to answer for 6 episodes. So I think that's maybe part of the strength of why
they're getting.
I find it a little less frustrating than I would normally with these types of shows, but yeah,
it dangles questions, but it dangles some of those questions as someone who's read the manga. It dangles some of those questions for a very long time. I might argue too long, but what it does is it answers just enough of the immediate questions,
right,
that you are satisfied for the time being.
Still want to know what Sister Crone put in the drawer, like that, leaving us hanging on that and stuff. Like
it's just a gun,
just a fucking gat.
Oh no, but we learned they can't kill the adults because then the alarms will go off, right?
Yeah,
and then say anything about kneecaps.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. As long as the heart's still beating.
As long as the heart's still beating, right?
But
yeah. So I mean,
yeah, it's very interesting where that show's going to go.
Yeah, we'll have to see where that goes.
It's been real hard not to read ahead.
Yeah, I mean, gee, as somebody who already knows what's going to happen, I mean, and you're still enjoying it, I think maybe that's a good.
Yeah, no, totally. It's a
good indicator.
Like it's it's the same story, of course, but still, watching it, in a different medium, seeing how they like, it's like same thing with like My Hero Academia, like watching the choices they make and seeing those things in action, in color, in movement. It's still enjoyable.
Right. Okay. Well.
Yeah.
That show's good, and you know what else is good?
No.
That was super lazy, I must admit, but
Yeah, I'm sorry, that doesn't work.
This is not our transition A game this episode. Sorry, folks.
No. The Price of Smiles is definitely not good. It's
fucking show, dude.
oh my god, Jill. You know what? Actually, you know what, Jill? I just want to get this out of the way. I have great news for you.
Okay.
I have fantastic news for you for this podcast. Putting together the header image for this podcast is going to be really easy.
Oh, you already have it ready for me?
Because this week, just like last time we got to talk about, the Price of Smiles and related to 50 Cent Blood on the Sand, this week we get to talk about Metal Gear Rising.
Oh boy. Are people getting
Nanomachines, son?
Are people getting limbs indiscriminately chopped off all over the place, or
No, it's even better than that.
Okay.
All right, so
what happened?
Let's
Lay
see
it on
here.
me.
The Empire has, believe this happened last time. The Empire is, taken over, occupied the capital, and now the princess is on the run with her troops, and they're kind of fighting guerrilla war, or at least they've retreated to another province or whatever. But also one of her advisors was left behind at the palace, and so he's sneaking around because apparently they didn't just fucking lock him up.
No, apparently the Empire has the worst fucking security in the world, and cannot keep tabs of a single person.
Yeah, but they reveal that in the big explosion in the backstory was perpetrated by a third party, the remnants of the Kingdom of Verde or something. Is that right?
Good. Yes. Also, good news, Jel. This show also managed to somehow introduce its Earth cult equivalent.
Yeah.
Oh, the metaphor continues, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they were upset about the new Krar technology or something, and so their remnants perpetrated the incident that sparked the war. Basically, it was an act of terrorism.
Oh man.
Yes.
And so, this dude who's left behind at the capital risks his life to hack the computers and get the information out to the princess of what exactly they discovered about the Krar technology, and dies dramatically while on FaceTime with the princess.
Yeah. But before he dies, manages to name his unborn son because. That's how because despite all the weird, crazy, stupid, cool shit this show introduces, it also just has a lot of dumb anime bullshit.
Yeah, his pregnant wife and child escaped with the princess, and with his dying breath, he exclaims that he's finally picked out a name, and then gets shot just as he tells them what to name his child.
The princess has taken on a lot of emotional baggage here, huh?
Yeah, weird.
Yeah, the princess fucking,
Seen a lot of stuff.
in terms of, okay, I'll put it this way. I don't mean to compare the shows, but I will just say, in terms of personal trauma witnessed, Reinhard von Musel got nothing on Yuki Soleil, at least in terms of at the ages that they were at.
Right.
At age 12, Reinhard had seeing his sister sold off into sexual slavery and kicked a kid in the nuts. Yuki Soleil has witnessed at the age of 12 the complete and almost final obliteration of her kingdom and its people, and has been single-handedly responsible, if not for the death of thousands, then at least the death of hundreds. Personally responsible.
It's a lot.
Anyway, in the next episode, we discover that this information that the lost Empire of Verde or whatever,
oh my god,
discovered about the Krar technology,
So like a
was
kill
that
switch or something.
So they've subtly been setting up, and it's pretty. If you're familiar enough with the genre tropes and stuff, you've basically figured out by now. Oh yeah, they're magic rocks or whatever, or basically materia from Final Fantasy VII that's sucking up the life stream or whatever, and destroying the environment.
Of course,
and you get you kind of just pick that up normally.
Yeah, I don't know that part. That part of the quote unquote twist you see from a mile away.
Right, and so
It's the explanation, however.
Actually, so the way this our car technology, this strange mineral, sucks life out of the environment is because when we migrated to this planet thousands of years ago from Earth to terraform it, we released, billions of nanomachines
Oh
into
man,
the atmosphere.
nanomachines.
And these nanomachines have integrated with the atmosphere and with the soil, with the flora and fauna, and have terraformed this planet into a habitable state. But you see, by coincidence, there's a mineral on this planet, this unknown mineral.
There's usually inert mineral.
Yeah, that resonates with the nanomachines and gives off energy, but actually this energy is just being siphoned away from the nanomachines, and apparently this causes the terraforming to reverse itself when the nanomachines become depowered.
Their world is filled with invisible, self-replicating, terraforming nanomachines.
Wow.
I just don't I don't understand why. This is a needlessly complex explanation.
Yeah, again, going back to the
why your technology is sucking the life out of the planet. B, how come I feel like I've seen this all over the place in anime or JRPGs and shit, but how come the terraforming reverses itself? I feel like once you hit a certain point, the environment becomes self-sufficient, right?
Yeah,
oxygen. If you plant enough fucking trees and shit, then carbon dioxide's gonna keep being converted to oxygen, etc.
Right.
It's not gonna turn the other way when you turn off the box that planted trees, right?
Yeah, no, look, I've played Stellaris, and I can say that once you terraform a planet, it doesn't go back. Ideally, you terraform a planet specifically because that makes it self-sustainable instead of something you have to constantly maintain. But
yeah. I don't know.
You know what?
It's
The Price of Smiles has other ideas about both terraforming and nanomachines.
And so, but also they develop basically an EMP weapon from this stuff that it turns off if you bombard it with enough rays, it shuts off all technology within a radius for 24-hour period.
Which, of course, what this leads to is now you all of a sudden see from a fucking million miles away where they're probably going to finish this up, because all the characters in this episode conveniently keep talking about the cycle of warfare and human nature, and is there any way we could possibly ever end it once and for all?
One day our ancestors lived in peace in caves without technology.
Right. Things were better back in the day before modern medicine and technology.
Oh, no. Let's not go there.
Yeah. And the thing is, you see glimpses of how this might be interesting because as soon as they figure out the EMP thing, one dude's all right, we can make a cool weapon out of this. This would be great. We can shut down Empire, and just like you want, it won't kill anybody because we're not blowing them up, unlike this gun I made. Also, won't it be great? And then they're but no, we can't use this energy because it's destroying the environment. And he's oh no, it won't destroy the environment for another 2,000 years. It'll be fine. I'm sure the people then will figure something out, but we need we need the guns right now.
There's this weird sense of this very sharp awareness of how short-sighted human nature is, that
except also the show is incapable of handling these things with any subtlety.
Right, because there is a nuance to that discussion of okay, this thing will hurt us in 1,000, 2,000 years, but also is there not something to be said about the preservation of human life that is here and now, even if that does cause, long-term, consequences? And it's I feel for example, a show a certain 1988 OVA could have maybe handled the level of nuance required to traverse that conversation, but The Price of Smiles just fucking goes for it. It's it doesn't even... It doesn't know that it doesn't have the ability to pull it off, but it tries anyway. And
yeah.
Goddamn, I fucking love it for that.
It's so goofy. Yeah, it's a mess.
It's
hot
such a
mess.
mess. But you know what? Good news, Jel. This week, all you have to do for the header is take a picture of Senator Armstrong and Photoshop Lily Hoshikawa's head onto it again. So
All right, I think I still have her head. I think I still have her face
Nanomachines, son.
masked out for last time. But okay, sure.
Fucking does yeah.
can we even come up with a good transition
Yeah.
to this
Speaking
show?
of the horrors of war,
Speaking of nanomachines,
we did the
Yeah.
war transition last episode.
look, leave
This
me
is,
alone.
like I said, this is not we're not bringing our A game on the transitions this week. We might as well just embrace it. Let's talk about the last show on the list. Kaguya-sama Love is War.
Mhm.
2 solid episodes this week. Probably not quite as good as last week, which is just because last week's episodes were so good. But episode 7 did probably have my favorite joke of the entire series, or at least the best visual gag I've seen in a long time, which I think I linked to you guys.
and I'm sure it'll be very funny when you explain it to us verbally.
Yes, I'm sure. No, yeah, I mean it does kind of make sense. The treasurer guy is kind of a creep, and
Okay.
he starts talking about the girls' breast sizes and not realizing that
Okay.
the girls are standing right behind him, and
A very normal conversation for people to have.
and the president kind of trying to say, "Yo, dude, back out, stop," and he doesn't.
Abandoned ship.
And so once he realizes the girls are standing there, show MVP Fujiwara just very calmly, quietly walks off to the other side of the room, starts folding a newspaper, wraps some tape around it to make a handle, and makes a giant
makes one of them paper fans.
giant manzai routine fan. I forget what you call that fan.
Sure.
And
Hari-sen.
yes, and then just mercilessly beats him with it for an uncomfortably long period of time, and it's a pretty good bit. But
Sure.
other than that, not a whole lot of. I guess the back half of the episode they just go to dick jokes, so that's always a good solid.
Hell yeah!
I was seeing some screenshots of that
Yeah,
on the
Never-
Twitters.
Yeah, so that's always
Never lets you down.
Yeah, so that's always a safe bet. So that was still a solid episode. Episode 8, which just literally came out like an hour ago, does introduce another new character. We meet the president's younger sister, and it's pretty
Of course.
it's pretty funny that with all the jokes are Kaguya trying to make friends with her, because you make friends with the little sister, then you can get in with Big Brother, who she's trying to hook up with. So, and it goes horribly wrong because Kaguya has no idea how human interaction works. So that's pretty funny. The other half of the episode, it's kind of interesting. They've done a couple bits which I think are cool where they mix and match the cast. So like normally you have like the main couple playing off each other, and then the other two characters in the background kind of just as the wild cards or whatever. But there've been a couple segments where they kind of like split up the characters and have them like do stuff together as there's more friendship type of relationship. There was a great bit with Fujiwara and the president, like a couple episodes I didn't get to mention, where the president is trying to learn to play volleyball and he's terrible at it, and like Fujiwara teaches him how to play volleyball, and at the end she's like a proud mom when he's actually pretty good by the end of the episode.
I served the ball, Mom.
Yeah.
I did it.
Yeah, she's like in the stands and she's like, I raised that boy. It's pretty good.
I mean,
but this week they had it turns out the treasurer guy is a bad student and he's in danger of failing, and this would of course besmirch the good name of the student council. So Kaguya takes it upon herself to kidnap and torture him into studying instead of playing.
I thought you were gonna say like private tutoring, but I guess
Same thing.
kidnap and torture
Yeah.
also works.
Well, see, he's a hardcore gamer and plays too many video games and does not study.
Of course.
Which, including, I guess he's a PUBG fan because he has a fake anime PUBG poster on his wall. But yeah, so she kind of whips him into shape, and there's just kind of like a nice little bit at the end where like some girls are like, "Oh, are they going out or something?" She's like, "I don't care about them," and puts them in their place or whatever, and they can just be friends or whatever. And it was pretty good. Also, a pretty good joke where he's like, "Oh God, no! I hope she doesn't make me study or eat small fish." And she's like, "Here's this book and here's this plate of sardines. Eat them." Just like out of nowhere.
Okay, that I can appreciate. Yeah,
I mean,
that's
I learned
pretty
from
good.
Lupin the Third that eating fish boosts your IQ.
Yes,
so
that was the reasoning, but like it just comes out of nowhere where he's like, "I really hope she doesn't make me study and eat small fish," and she's like,
No, I mean, yes, there's we don't need to dissect it too much, but yes, the highly specific joke can sometimes
so that was pretty
work
good.
out very well. But
Yeah, so it was 2 more very solid, funny episodes. Really love this show. It's my favorite one of the season. Everyone, please watch it.
I mean, that does sound pretty good. I mean, I think there's definitely something to be said about like, I really do love it when a show has such a well-defined cast of characters that mixing them, like just mixing which characters interacting with which, can create like wildly different, like social dynamics.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
like I think it really speaks to a show's strengths when it's like, well, when A and B are together, it's like this, but when A and C hang out, it's like this, and when C and D are together, it's a totally different thing. It's
the sketch in Osamatsu where it's Choromatsu and Ichimatsu.
Yeah, exactly,
and
like
they're
that
just
one,
like,
right?
we never hang out. What the fuck do we do?
Hey, yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Like the fucking all too real realization you have, like when you're with your group of like 5 friends in college, and then like 3 of them leave, and you're left with the other one. You realize, like, oh shit, like I fucking play Gears of War with this dude all the time, but I have never actually like sat in a room alone with him. What the fuck do we talk about?
Yeah.
It's
I just appreciate too, specifically when you have like romantic comedies, anytime that you can make it where the 2 main characters' worlds don't completely revolve around each other, and they're kind of more well-rounded characters beyond just their own relationship with each other. And I feel like anytime they do usually break away with other characters, it's just to make the other one jealous, and being able to show them as more well-rounded characters that can have like friends and relationships outside of their crush makes it a much more interesting show. So nice work on that.
Good job, Kaguya.
Yep.
I continue to not watch you, but Gel sure makes it sound like you're worth watching.
It is definitely worth checking out. So, all right. So that'll do it then for this episode. I guess we can get to our housekeeping. You can check out all of our content at theglorioblog.com. You can follow us on Twitter at theglorioblog. We do have many more places to find the podcast now since the last episode.
Yay!
So let's see if
Gel, I continue to do an extremely poor job of explaining it in the other podcasts, so you're going to need to clear things up for the listeners.
So, I will do my best to explain, because I don't know if I even remember it all at this point. We did move to several other platforms. We basically moved podcast hosts away from WordPress so that we could share in other places. So there is a new RSS feed. So if you are subscribed to that, you may need to subscribe again. I've heard conflicting stories on that. Some people need to subscribe, some people didn't, but just double check if you were already subscribed to the RSS, or if you were subscribed in iTunes as well. Just double check. If you're not getting the latest episodes, you may need to resubscribe. We added, in addition, the podcast is available in the Google Play Store and should be in the Google Podcast app. I don't have a Android device, so I have not been able to personally test that myself, but theoretically that should be available there. We're also available in Spotify podcasts, which is available in the Spotify app. You can just search the GLORIO chat and subscribe there. We're also, we've been available in Podbean, but that is our new host as well. So there is like a new page for it. I don't think anything needs to be done on that if you were subscribed there. But again, with any of these, just double check, make sure you're getting the latest episodes. And of course, we're still on YouTube. That's unchanged. But please subscribe so we can get our URL on that. And I think,
Yeah, I think it's like, I think a lot of people are going to be like, well, why the fuck did we go through all this trouble? But it's like, look, we had to rip off this Band-Aid eventually. Like,
yes,
better we do it now when we only have, like, I don't know, a cumulative, like, 40, 50 podcasts
or whatever,
instead of, like, 100 or something. So
the longer we wait, the worse it was going to get. So at some point, we just had, like G said, rip the Band-Aid off. And, we should be in a much better position with more flexibility on what we can do with the podcast in the future as far as, where we're sharing it and everything. So kind of had to happen at some point. So again, check it out. iTunes, Google, Spotify, Podbean, YouTube, any of those areas you can find us. So I think that's pretty much it then. Tell your friends, tell your enemies. Check out G and Yaro's podcast about Legend of the Galactic Heroes. Watch Legend of the Galactic Heroes. Dive.
We're almost done with season 2.
We got an interesting trio of episodes up ahead.
Yeah, that was quite a block coming up for next week.
And we're going to be doing. We haven't figured out the details yet, but we are going to be doing our second season end episode of the podcast soon.
This latest.
Keep an ear out for
block
that
goes up
one.
to episode 50. What is the season 2 end?
Yes.
54.
Okay, yeah, so that's coming up pretty soon then, huh? All right. So look out for that, everybody. And I think that's pretty much it then. So thanks for listening, and we'll catch everybody next time.
See you later.
Bye.